This is A Flight of Southern Witches, a podcast by two Australian witches talking to other Southern Hemisphere witches about what witchcraft looks like and feels like in our part of the world, and what it means to be a Southern Hemisphere witch.
Well met, friends. You can call me Mel. I'm a Wiccan who lives in Central Australia. I first learnt about witchcraft in the mid 90s and have dabbled in a lot of different things since, but always come back to Wicca.
And hello there, I'm Gil. I'm an Australian witch living on the east coast of Australia. I started my witchcraft journey back in the 1990s doing elemental magic and divination. We started this podcast as podcast listeners because 99.9% of witchcraft podcasts are Northern Hemisphere focused. And down in the Southern Hemisphere, it's not just the water that rotates the other way. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Gil, and today Mel and I are going to be talking to the founder and president of the Pagan Awareness Network, Dave. So, hi, Dave. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. Dave's definitely got an interesting background of that he can share with us. All right, Dave, how would you describe yourself if you had to give your practice a label?
Oh, well, I would say eclectic. Uh, my roots are in Strega, so Italian witchcraft. That's because my grandmother, the good Christian witch who didn't know she was a witch,
Yep. Lots
was
of them.
even died in the Christian hospital on the new moon, like a good witch should.
Yeah.
So I started like a fluffy new ager, kicking around the occult scene. I think my very first big realization was I did a Denise Lynn meditation at Mindless Bodies or Mind Body Wallet or Mind Spirit, the very first one. So just a little while ago. And then got pulled out of the crowd because, instead of just seeing, taking that third person view, I started experiencing my past life again in real time, which caused everybody to panic because I started choking. And not being able to breathe. Everybody else is like looking down at themselves in third person, and I'm writhing around in my chair.
Oh
Drowning.
my God.
Oh
That
my
would have been
gosh.
terrifying.
Yeah, so she came and got me, and I was one of 4 people that got to go back with her after. So that's when I found out I was sort of skirting around the edges and, playing with a little bit of stuff. I'll take one step further back. So I used to work as a training manager in Big W, and my manager read tarot cards.
All right.
So I'd already been run over by a 4-wheel drive. That had already happened, and things were already a little bit strange from that. But when I spoke to him, and his name was David as well, and he read my cards, and we started talking about reading cards and stuff like that, lights started coming on left, right, and center. So I went off to Mind Body Wallet. I used to hang around in Mysteries in Balmain when it was downstairs.
Yep.
So went off to Mind Body Wallet, did this past life regression, realized that I'd only been dead for 4 years before coming back, and brought a lot of the injuries with me. So I've always had problems with my right foot that the doctors can never figure out. Nobody could find out why it would swell up, and I couldn't walk properly. And Denise took me back to Vietnam, where I trod on a landmine and blew my right foot off. And the shrapnel went up into my throat, and I died in the field in my own blood. So come back too quick, brought a lot of that with me, which I still have some of those issues which have no physical reason for the pain. So Denise then opened that door for me, and then I started meeting other new age people, and started talking about stuff and started reading tarot. Before long, I was working with Matthew Favaloro, who was the New Idea tarot person. in mysteries.
Mm.
I was reading tarot in mysteries, and then it just sort of the people I met there. I met Julia and Matthew when they brought their Witches of Oz in as an A4 photocopy book.
That's fantastic. That's a classic.
So I met them back then when they used to run a BBS, a bulletin board system
Mm-hmm.
called Morning Star,
Yep.
which you would log into and we'd get before the internet.
Oh, we're showing our age.
That's right. And download your messages and then do them
Mhm.
online. And
Yeah.
you have to take the phone and dial out and log in again and upload your messages on Podnet. God.
Yeah, we existed before the internet
That's
existed in
right.
current form. It's not great.
With my 1200 BPS modem. And then I just fell into the community after doing Mind, Body, and Wallet. I met a lot of people. So I skirted around and met different people, played in the New Age community, did lots of, ghost busting and
Yeah. The stuff
ghost
you always do
chasing.
when you start.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then when I was working at Angus and Robinson bookshops, I had my first, now I know, was a psychic attack. And I was terrible. I was terrified and didn't matter where I go and where I closed my eyes. It was horrible. Anyway, the next day I go to work. This woman walks straight up to me, picks a book off the shelf, says, "You need to read this," and left. I'm like, I've gone officially nuts. And it was Dawn Hill, Reaching for the Other Side. It taught you how to turn it off, closing your curtains.
Yeah.
And then Pagans in the Pub in Newtown. So I kicked around, met most of the older people who were kicking around. And I think I was in, then I left Angus and Robinson, did some other stuff, ended up out in Penrith. And that's when I decided that, well, that's when I figured out what Wicca was and that I'd already been doing most of it and already had most of the tools.
Yeah.
We're talking mid-90s. And then I joined the WLPA, so the Witches League for Public Awareness, which was run by Laurie Cabot,
Mm-hmm.
and became the Australian contact for the WLPA and started working with Fritz and Ren
Right.
because they started with her as well. And then Laurie found out that she had all these contacts, she had to supply insurance, and it all blew up and she sacked us all. So Fritz and Ren went off and started Witchfox.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, it's still out there in some form. And then I went to start the Pagan Awareness League and realized that was PAL and that was dog food.
Yeah.
So I went for PAN. And again, it was still dial-in. The internet had started, but it was dial-in when I put the first website up. So 28 years ago.
Wow. Has it been that long?
Yeah. It's 28 years in March since we started the full moons.
Yeah, right.
And then the rest is, history. I just got involved in stuff. People pissed me off. I went off and fixed it and realized what we don't have in Australia. All of the stuff in America that everybody knew about didn't fit here.
Yeah.
The laws are different, very different. It was actually still illegal in 1997 to practice witchcraft in Queensland and Victoria.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
People don't think of those tiny little facts, but they're still something that could screw you.
Well, it was also illegal to read tarot.
Yeah.
So every time I went, because we assisted with running Pagan 98 up in Queensland, and they couldn't stop it because it was being run by a New South Wales organisation in Queensland. And every time I'd go to Queensland, I'd set up a little table outside Brisbane Police Station, pull out my tarot cards, and they'd come out, "No, we're not going to arrest you, Mr. Gull." "Why not? I'm reading tarot. I'm breaking the Vagrancy Act." I said, "No, it's not worth the paperwork. You will get out under federal law." Anyway, so there's lots of fun stories like that. So,
would you say that advocacy side is a strong side for you, like wanting to build that awareness around paganism?
In the early days, so back in the beginning, back in the mid-90s, And having survived the satanic panic during the 80s, even though I wasn't involved as much as some of the others were, all of the all of the lunacy that went on with that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I go to the tribunal and save people's rent and get their bonds back. I just do advocacy. It's just what I do. And then work gave me that job, so now I do it at work. I didn't want what was happening in America to happen in Australia.
Yep.
So people were having their houses burnt down, people were being beat up, people were having their cars sabotaged. And even though that happened to me here in Australia, and I lost my job and all types of stuff because I was out there, there was no protections back then. And I just decided that if I had kids and they wanted to be pagan, I wanted them to have a better shot than I did. And then there was the people who were in trouble. So I just helped them. And it turned into, like, we started the full moons in March, and then I found out, oh, well, you can't run full moons without insurance, because it's on public property and stuff like that. So, and that was when I was part of SOTEG, Servants of the Elder Gods, which was a group that I started with the group I was working with at the time. And PAN was the educational arm of them.
Mm.
And that all went south. And then we registered PAN in October of that year and got our own insurance.
Yeah, right.
And then started doing media, started doing the internet, started making pamphlets.
Yeah.
And educating, because the biggest issue was, and part of that was our own problem, dare to be silent. The biggest issue was nobody understood.
Yes.
And right up to when I got married in 2006, we had guests at our wedding waiting for us to sacrifice the goat.
Like legitimately believing that you were going to do that? Mm. Yeah.
Hey, that's a good Italian wedding.
As long as it's on a spit afterwards, yeah.
That's right. Oh, well, don't waste not, want not.
Exactly.
Look, so yes, I'm eclectic. Starting in and then went everywhere. I've just done everything. I've studied lots of different paths. I often describe myself as a recovering Catholic. I was head altar boy, did mass 3 times every Sunday, and left the church at 14.
Yeah.
Studied.
There's a few of us in that I've found in the craft that are, well, in witchcraft that are, ex-Catholic,
Because,
highly religious aspects of that Catholicism as
wow,
well. Like I wanted to be a nun, but decided that the church, after I got confirmed, the Bible wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I was left looking for something else.
that,
Hence,
that, that was me. Took me a long time. I
yeah,
didn't get to paganism until 20s, even though I
yeah,
was reading tarot at 18. I went to Buddhism. I went to lots. I'd be a Buddhist if I wasn't a capitalist. That's what I tell
yeah,
everyone. But I like fast cars, and I
yeah,
like home theatre, and I
yeah,
like,
tech.
nice things. So no Buddhism. The sheet on the side of a mountain just doesn't cut it.
No.
And I looked at everything. I mean, the only thing that's ever scared me is voodoo. One of the ladies I worked with during the journey was a Santeria priestess.
Mm-hmm.
That was very, very interesting and scary as all hell.
Yeah.
So bits of everything. Comes back to
Yeah.
your first question, Gilly. Eclectic. After I've done the garden path, waving my arms in the air, talking about everything. Eclectic. We can ask. There was a period where I worked with a woman for 20 years, 25 years, which we believed we were Gardnerian Wiccan, but that's since been proved otherwise. And that's probably the torpedo blow that slowed me down from what I'm doing now.
Right.
Living a lie for 25 years, it's a bit hard to come to terms with.
That's a hurt. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a really big hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
But
there's stuff I know that I'm not supposed to know, but there's no paperwork to support it. So
Yeah.
you do.
But I mean, is it a lie with the experiences that you've gained from it? So I think
Look,
it's like a mislabeling, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is sort of if I was Moby Dick, I got harpooned, and I'm not going to recover.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It doesn't change what I believe. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change what I do. But it just does change the legitimacy. Um, and a lot of the reason that I was sought out by so many over those years was because of that so-called legitimacy. Um, Even the media, you know, when they because there was one stage there where they'd print an article in the paper and then they'd say the Pagan Awareness Network will respond shortly, even because they knew we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we were all through the print media. I remember having an argument with George Pell in the Telegraph um, over a couple of weeks
Yeah, well,
before
that
he
worked
was
out well for
pardoned.
him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's been very interesting and very varied. Um, and at times terrifying. You know, we used to get death threats a lot. We used to have a pan phone once, and all we'd ever get on it is death threats.
I don't
So
understand
we
that.
turned it off. People are threatened, you know, and some of them were even from within our own community because they were threatened. Oh, look, not every pagan's a nice pagan.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
can
I've
tell
learned
you
that this last couple of years.
that the one. Well, I've been dealing with them since the mid '90s.
Mm.
I was involved in the biggest one, working with the Pan Pacific Pagan Alliance, who was big then before Pan existed. I was working with the media officer on trying to hose down what was going on in the media for our one of well for a pagan who was put in jail for 10 years, who stayed there for almost 20,
Mm.
who luckily now is no longer.
Yeah. Mm.
So we had our, and because it was secretive,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people would do almost anything for it and did do almost anything to get in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much better now,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
kind of, because there's people who are writing books who've only read books. So
Yeah.
while there's lots of information out there, not all of it is good.
Well, you've got AI writing books now as well.
That's
Like
right.
it's just you don't even have people writing books anymore. It's computers just rehashing the same crap on repeat, with a different title, different pen name, and
Yeah.
people are buying it and then posting, "Oh, I bought this new book," and
Yeah.
oh,
But that was something I used to love in the tapestry, which is the periodical we used to produce. We had a poison pen, and they would do not so good reviews. And some of those were amazing. People would read the books and then do the reviews on them and go, "Oh my God." You know?
yeah.
Um,
Oh, the good old days before the internet became the internet as we now know it.
so in my time that I've been involved, we've gone from being illegal to I can now apply for cultural days at work and get them as paid days off.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first started, you could be sacked for your religious beliefs, and there was no religious protection at all
Yeah.
in New South Wales. At least there's now religious discrimination in most workplaces. You're covered for your religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Um, Not outside of work in New South Wales. There's nothing to protect you from religious vilification in New South Wales. There is in Victoria. So the trick is, somebody says something you don't like, get somebody in Victoria to read it.
Yeah.
Then you can use the Victorian laws and take them to the tribunal.
Just mix and match what you need. Just get friends everywhere.
The union trained me that, because when I was younger and in the union, I was on the state board and I was on the federal board, and we'd choose which board we played on to use whichever law was going to be better
To win, yeah.
to
Yep.
win.
There's always ways
So,
around it.
so Dave, with everything that like your journey so far, what are some of the things that you've held on to and like have made you who you are?
I think one of the biggest and most influential periods in my life was the first Wiccan conference that I went to. So I'd started Pan. I was working with a priestess, and we went to the Wiccan conference in 1997, which was the first time that it was ever held in Sydney. Pretty sure. And spending 3 days on an island with people who thought the same as I did, who you could start a conversation with or start a sentence and they could finish it. That's where I met Reese, was there. And he was my priest. I met him. I met Jonathan there. I met Josie there. They're all names from, I met Shell there. I met all of the key players and big players, and it was very influential for me to spend that time. And to be honest, I think that's what consolidated. I'd always had little study groups. We did men's groups all the time. We would meet after and do tarot and do ghost busting, whatever. But it wasn't consolidated in me that I wasn't delusional and having myself on.
Yeah.
Until I actually went there and met people who were older than me, because that was a long time ago. So I was still influential and young. That's one of them. That's probably one of the big ones.
So that sense of community and people who understood
Yeah,
your experience.
and just knowing, you
Yeah.
know. And then after that was Pagan 98, where there was 200 and something people in Brisbane. That was just mind blowing. And I met some left-hand path people there for the first time. They actually did an Enochian ritual, which was mind blowing.
That would have been awesome, yeah.
It was very full on. And again, that's where Reese was. I spent more time with him there, and that's when I met Simon and Andrea. So lots of people that have been in my life since then. That's probably the big one that solidified what I was going to do and what I wanted to do. When I first started Pan, I had a very big case of imposter syndrome. Because
be alone.
who was I to do this, but no one else was.
Yeah.
At that time, the Pagan Alliance had blown up over the pagan police thing. That's what had happened during that period. And it had sort of lost its way and gone. And then there was some moves to take it over by someone else. And it sort of, all the work that Julia did building that was sort of lost. And I didn't think we could really survive without doing something. So that became that Wiccan conference, and talking to people and talking about, because pagans are wonderful. They just run off and do stuff. They don't really care about insurance or care about legal liabilities or care about any of that stuff. So that became my job. Yeah. So we would make sure everybody was covered, make sure everybody was informed.
Yeah.
And that's when we started. I think 97 was when we first got individual loving cups in the ritual at AWC. So instead of having the one big cup, we all got these beautiful turquoise egg cups. And I've still got one to have our wine in. I think that's the big one. And I think whenever you do, probably besides that, my first personal Samhain ritual that I wrote and ran, and was seriously expecting the ground to open up and skeletons to climb out.
Yeah.
And it felt almost like it was going to. So
it's really good when you have those experiences early on in your journey, because it really solidifies the kind of person you want to be and the kind of people you want to be with. And it really is eye-opening, I think, to what is out there. I know that one of the people that we've met here has commented in the past that it's really good to just sit with a group of us at like pagans in the pub because we're not like their other friends that, you know, don't understand
Yeah,
this ritual thing or energy thing or, you know, so for us to just be able to sit and talk all this kind of stuff is really, for them, it's really, you know, it's opening up them up to a lot more that they didn't know about before. So yeah, I think it's really good.
And I also think it's really important to have that reality check as well. Like
that's
when
right.
we're working with energies, and it's really important to be able to test
What's
test
real?
reality with the people around you. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's what keeps us sane and well semi-sane and
Yeah.
Maybe
having
so we
fun.
can be.
Do you have like a daily sort of practice or a weekly practice or a monthly practice that you with all of these
This,
different things you've tried out? What do you do
this is
regularly?
interesting because, and this is an argument I have with other practitioners, not of our craft, but of other religions. I used to argue when I was Catholic that religion isn't something you do on a Sunday. Religion is the guide to how you live. So I live my life with those things that I've picked up along my way. I treat people taking into account those types of things, and I try and act in a way that falls within what I would consider my religious practice. So I treat people with respect. I live every day, every minute within the law of karma. And I'm not dumb enough to think that I don't do the wrong thing, but I treat karma as a credit card.
Yeah.
So I try and do as much as I can to help other people to put it in credit for when I smack it and put it in debit. So
Yep.
because I will and I have, and knowingly, like I don't believe in this accidental karma. I have knowingly gone down that path, done what I shouldn't have done, and then I go and pay back later. And that's just how I live life. That's how I treat people. I approach everyone with curiosity until they give me a reason not to. And then I still keep them close
Yep.
because
Enemies closer.
that's right. And I do every day. I mean, I don't, there's little nods and acknowledgements. And I mean, I'm very much plugged into the seasons and the wheel of the year and acknowledging. Like I've had to hide earlier this year because summer's been a lot hotter.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be happy if it went autumn, winter, spring,
Yep.
and miss summer altogether. I'm not a summer creature.
Nope.
So little nods, little acknowledgements. I still run the full moons. So they've been going 28 years in March. Always acknowledge the Sabbats, the new moons. And I try and tread lightly. Recycle when I can.
Yeah.
Just little stuff. I'm terrible when it comes to cars because they're not very economical or nice to the environment at all.
Yep. No, cars are allowed.
That's
Yours is vintage. Like
well, that's one of them. The other one I'm driving is not any good for the environment either. But
Mine's certainly not, but I love the thing. So
and I'm trying to be mindful with the printing, the waste that comes from that. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the resin waste, but I recycle the PLA and I recycle the alcohol. Look, you just think and I just try
yeah.
to live that way. So for me, how I live is my religion.
Yeah.
I'm always nagging my Italian background. So if you don't know much about Strega, witchcraft, they go, oh, can I please have this? Well, Strega isn't like that. Strega's like, give it to me. But I'm going to say your name 100 times a day until you do.
yeah, gonna nag you into submission.
Nag you into submission.
That explains so much about my Italian families.
So, and to be honest, when I really want something to work and I really want something to go, come on, guys, I've given you, a lot. I don't ask often. It stopped raining on my wedding day.
Yeah.
So, It was flooding before that, and it stopped until we got to the reception. It's how you live, and I don't think I'll ever not be pagan.
Yeah.
Some poor Korean Christians knocked on the door this week, and she was opening the Bible and reading bits out, telling me why it was relevant. I said, "Go here, read this." So I took her to Exodus 22. And she said, "Oh, yeah, thou shalt not suffer a sorceress to live." And I said, "Keep reading." "Oh, thou shalt offer up thy firstborn son." "Oh, that's to the church." I said, "Is that where you send the cows and the sheep?" "Keep reading." "As you do with the best of your cows and your cattle." "Oh, so did you sacrifice your firstborn?" "No." Well,
Come on.
they ran
And
away after I told them about Jephthah and his daughters.
that's what I love about pagans, though. We educate ourselves on the source material.
That's right. I said, I laughed. They said, "Oh, but don't you believe in the New Testament?" I went, "No, because in the Old Testament, God was a God. You piss me off, I kill your firstborns. You piss me off, oh, the rivers of blood. Look, it's raining frogs." Don't piss God off.
Yeah.
And then the New Testament, oh, I've had a schizophrenia attack and it's Satan's fault.
Yeah.
Whereas I like Jesus. He's a cool dude. I
Jesus
reckon
is all right. And that's what I
he'd
said
be
to them.
down with the pagans.
I said to them, "Do yourself a favor." And I said, "What?" I said, "Go and find the Aramaic scrolls." He said, "What's
Just go
that?"
get
I
them
said,
for the locker.
that's Jesus's native language, his native handwriting, and read what they say.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do they say? "Look to the rocks, look to the trees, pick up a stone, I am there." And they went, and then the handler said, "It's time for us to go."
Thank you. It is.
I said, I wish you well on your path, but don't come and tell me you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what I like about paganism in general is that we don't go out there and try and
We don't
convert
cross the
people.
lines.
We just,
No.
we're doing the thing. And if you find the thing and you like the thing, then you are welcome to join in our thing. But, otherwise.
I can just see us wandering around knocking on the door. "Have you heard the word of the goddess today?"
I mean, look, I think
Don't want
it'd
to
be
hear about the
fun.
Morgan? Well, she'll sort you out later.
I would like to turn up with women dressed in beautiful white flowing robes with Mari Lewis in the background. Have you heard of the goddess today?
And I'll put my satyr horns on and
Yeah.
dance, and we can all dance around. Look what you're missing out on.
It'd be fantastic.
I mean,
Bottles of wine in the background.
everyone loves a good procession.
That's right.
Be
Dearie
brilliant.
me. Look, the world is so different now, although I do feel it is slipping backwards.
Yeah, definitely.
I do have concerns for Australia because religion is seeping into politics.
Yes.
So we have the Christian Democrat Party and we have blah, blah, blah. Church and state should be separate.
Always. Yeah.
When the two mix,
Badness. Especially for the minorities like us and we're not the only minority religion out
no,
there, but it ends up badly for us more than anything else. So yeah.
You find that when we don't fit in the system.
Yeah.
So we have that problem with wanting religious celebrants and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't have 12 denominations sitting under one grand pope, as much as some in the community try to do that, so that we can fulfill the requirements to get
religion.
religious celebrant. So yeah, it's difficult.
So what has changed about the way that you practice? Obviously, you've already mentioned that you had the Gardnerian Wicca issue, but what's outside of that? What else has changed in your practice since you started those early days reading tarot and, doing that kind of thing to what you practice now? Has it sort of...
Yeah, the journeys, I think for all of us, when you become a new pagan, suddenly there's crushed velvet and silver everywhere. And lots of crystals and extra bits that you get involved in because you're so excited. And then the more you practice, less is more.
Yes.
I've always been a big practitioner of normal. And that's one of the keystones of the circle, was that you just turn up. There's no anything. Wear robes if you want to, but it's not expected. I think the need to do big ornate rituals by myself is gone. And acknowledgement is an acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Still read tarot. That's on demand. So whenever suddenly there'll be a run and I'll do 15 or 20 readings in a month, and then nothing for a little while. It's always busy around New Year's because everybody wants to find out what the gift will be. So, I mean, where are we? The 13th of January, and I've already done 16 readings this year.
Right.
So it really does become less is more.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, you get tighter.
Yeah.
I can't do an all-nighter anymore. It takes me like 3 weeks to recover. I remember going to gatherings and not sleeping. When I went to Euphoria, I didn't sleep. When I first did the Baphomet right there, I think I spent 14 hours in the circle.
God.
So that was amazing. Having kids changes things. And having kids when you're older changes things.
Yeah.
So I still did lots with when my older two were kicking around. I don't do as much with the younger one.
Right.
It's 13 years between them. There's not as much need now. So as there's not much need, when something goes wrong, I'll fire up and go and fix it. But it just becomes, I just plod along. I took up 3D printing, and that's taken most of my life at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't. The drive for knowledge also changes.
Yes.
I don't seek as much as I did by myself, but I do enjoy getting together with other people and talking about it. And that's happened already this year too. I went to do something at someone's house and started talking religion, and 4 hours later.
Yeah. That's good.
And then left there and went somewhere else. And that I did 2 tarot readings, and then that turned into 2 hours worth of, religion and that type of stuff. So I still enjoy those discussions.
Yeah.
But I think you mellow. And
Yeah.
that's the only way to really say it.
Yeah.
We've got some good protections now.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be. I'm really worried about this, the Islam versus Judaism issue that's going on.
Yeah.
That will start another war.
Well, it is.
Yeah. But here,
yeah,
I think I've already done lots, and there's not a lot that I haven't done. And then you get to a point where you go, oh, maybe I don't want to know about that.
I think there's an element of you get settled in your practice as well. Like
That's
we've all been practicing for, I say, decades now in our various things.
Yeah.
And I think you don't necessarily, you just go, well, I like doing this one thing, and I don't particularly want to go and read another 6,000 books about a different topic. I like what I like, and I'm going to do this. And then if I decide to change, that's there. I can always go to it. I think there's an element of you just sort of settle in.
Also about getting that deeper understanding of what you're doing as well. Because I think, as you were talking before, Dave, about, when we all go through the velvet, it was the velvet in the 90s, and now it's the goth kind of aesthetic.
God.
But
you should have seen me with long hair and big black fingernails. Anyway.
But I mean, as we do the practice, understanding of it gets deeper and deeper.
And I, even with Reese, one of his last rituals he did a celestial ritual, and it took him 9 months to do that ritual.
Yeah.
And I look at it, and again, as you say, Gilly, your understanding's there. You don't need to go. You don't need to work as hard to get to the point we want to get to.
Exactly.
So I miss meditation. That I do miss meditation. I miss running meditation. I get a little bit of a fix every full moon. That's the only thing that I really miss that you need other people to do. But to get to those states, we used to fast running up to the Sabbats, and we would meditate before the rituals. And now, and then that mind shift would take place when you put your robes on. It would be that physical energy shift. I can just do it there, throw on.
Shift gear.
Just do
It happens.
And even talking about it, I can pop the goose pimples, and the energy level changes.
The neck.
And you find you don't need the myth, you don't need the story, and it helps when you're learning, when you're experiencing, and it does help in a group because it's a common focus.
Yeah.
I think as we get older, we go back to our roots, and in the beginnings there was one wise woman and one wise man in the town.
Yep.
One wiki, one wicca. That was it. And we tend to retreat to our caves.
Yeah.
And we get sought out occasionally. We get sought out to fix a problem.
And then do the hermit thing.
That's right. Go back in my cave.
So I guess going forward, what's something you'd like to see in the future? So given that you've got kids and what would you like?
One of them's already started his journey, so I'm quite happy with that. So and he's doing extremely well. I'm very proud of him. I don't know what's going to happen with this one. He keeps telling me that he's interested and he wants to go, but he's also a bit squirrely. So he's only so shiny. Oh, what? Gone. What I would like to see, and it's something that I've never been able to achieve, something that I tried to achieve, was a way of bringing pagans together easier. And even with all this social media and all this great stuff that we've got and all this instant witch talk and we still can't do it. I know the same pagans that I've known for 30 years, and occasionally I meet a new one. But I know there's 150,000 pagans in Australia. And we've never managed to
be a group,
get anywhere near them, never managed to be a community. And I think what I've come to settle on is that we're never going to be a community because we're all doing our own individual thing.
Yeah.
And the path is so individual.
I have the unpopular opinion. I have the unpopular opinion of wanting the same thing. I think even in my interview for this, I said I wanted us to be a community where we could have rights and fight as pagans together and be recognized. But my unpopular opinion is that I really don't like this whole do what you feel, and because it separates us all automatically. And I think I know being an initiate, I have a specific thing that I do, and that's cool. That's my specific thing. But even as a pagan, I think we could lend ourselves more to being not traditional, but having some sort of things that we follow, some sort of guidelines that we say, okay, this is, if I'm a pagan, I do these particular things, so that we can, as a group, say, we do these things. And what you do with that is fine. But
See, I completely disagree, because I think it's about, we're all heading in the same direction. We're all just taking different paths to get there. Right. So I think,
there's the catchphrase, organizing pagans is like herding cats.
Exactly.
And we do come together when the community is threatened.
Yeah.
So when we had Casey, the issues that took place in Casey was probably the most mobilized and most connected the community has ever been during that 5-year period. And it went for 5 years. And I think that's the case. I think we're like I don't know, a homogeneous blob spread out all over the place, and when we're threatened, we all come together and then go back out. That's what I would like. I don't want formal structures. I don't want formal institutions. I don't want someone to say, I'm the Pope of the the pagan community, and that's usually where we start falling apart. As soon as we start saying, oh, we need to unify, or who's going to run it? And most of the leaders will go, I'm not touching that, I'm walking away, and then the idiots get up there, oh, it'll be me, and then it blows up.
I don't want us to be like that, but I would like us to be able to say, like with the whole pagan dash thing that we tried, for the census, I would like us to be able to say there are 150,000 of us in Australia. You should listen to things that we want to do, or things that we should say, or, involve us in our choices. And because we're so disparate, it doesn't happen.
We did that for 3 censuses from 96, 2000, 2004. We were the fastest growing religion in Australia. Was the nature-based categories. Look, and I still think that's a viable thing to do. It's just getting people mobilized.
Yeah.
And removing the fear. There's still a lot of fear that if you're found out to be a pagan, you're going to be targeted.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
And that's when I started, that was there, and it's still a genuine fear now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's less, thankfully, here. Yes. But yeah, it is still an issue. So
like, I'm very open. I work for the federal government. And very open in what I am, because I have to be. I've been all over TV. It's not like they're going to miss it.
Can't put this wedge back in the box.
That's right. The last time I was on the project was probably the biggest one that I've ever had as far as reach into the community was.
Yeah.
And I had one of the DCs come and go, saw you on TV. I'm like, oops.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah. It's all good. It's a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that problem, and it's because people don't accept other religions. They just don't. And it doesn't help that some of the Judaic-Christian religions preach that they're the only one.
Yeah, true.
I remind them, go and have a look. It doesn't say I am the only God. It says, for I am a jealous God. Worship no other God before me. And they go, so he acknowledges my gods. He just says he's better.
Yes.
Don't, you're hurting my head.
How dare you?
My face. Yeah.
So onto something a little bit more fun then.
Uh,
What's your go-to recipe for feasting and cooking? Are you the cook?
No, look, and this is something, because in all of the times that I've worked with people, I had covens or done whatever, we get everyone to do it. So there is always, because the traditional is always someone guaranteed that we're going to do anything, we'll do a dumb supper.
Yep.
So it's always lamb, it's always pumpkin soup, it's always, pomegranate salad. There's always that guaranteed, that's going to be yummy, apple pie and custard, that type of stuff. Yeah. But the lamb, I don't think we've ever had a meeting without lamb. So we're proper Aussie pagans.
I love that. I love it. Lamb all the way. Next you get Tom Cruise in and you'll be fine. Although he's with those weird Scientology.
Yeah. That's a funny one, because that's one of the only institutions that isn't recognised.
Oh.
But for a period there, it wasn't recognised in South Australia.
Yeah, right.
Because we don't have recognised religions in Australia.
Yeah.
The 5, Section 116, the Constitution. Go and have a look. We have recognised institutions.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Psychology.
Well, they can't make us illegal, although they can make all religions illegal, except in Tasmania.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess, and I think I know what the answer to this question is, but what are your favourite rituals, celebrations and workings to be part of?
Look, but always so, and it's always been my favourite. Because my roots, after I got run over by the 4-wheel drive when I was 17, and whenever I drank, the population in the room would double, and I couldn't tell you who was real and who wasn't, or who was alive and who wasn't. So I've worked with the dead the longest. So I really relate with that. Giving thanks to our ancestors that their sacrifice got us what we've got now. And especially being an army brat, you know, my dad was in the army for 28 years. His dad was in the army. Those people who served and ultimately gave their lives for us to have the freedoms that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always Samhain is a given. And then the rest are equal. Samhain's the big one for me.
Yeah.
But they were the hinge pin that brought me to paganism, because every other religion requires you to have faith.
Yes. But you could see.
Go, yes, you need to believe that such and such did this. And I'm like, but I don't need to believe anything. The equinoxes exist. They are physical. The solstices exist. They are physical. The stories and stuff that are attached to them, yeah, they're myths, but there's still root in the physical. The moon goes full. The moon goes dark. Physical. It gave me something to hang on to.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I get what you're saying, because I feel like it's also about, it's physical, but it's also experiential. So it's actually about doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about
following.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, and I still love a good ritual, like a good ritual. There's I love a good group ritual.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I love AWC. The rituals, many of those rituals have left lasting impressions on myself.
Yeah.
And Euphoria. I did the Persephone ritual there, which changed me profoundly. Being taken to the underworld, being buried, being raised, meeting Cerberus.
That would be amazing.
It was probably the second longest ritual I've ever done in my life, but it was amazing.
Yeah. I'm upset that I missed Euphoria. I was in paganism by then, but I didn't know enough, I think, of the things that were happening. And I missed the stories I've heard of Euphoria. I was so excited when they were potentially bringing it back. I was like, oh, I'm going to get to go. And then maybe whenever they do actually get it off the ground.
We hit and miss. We went to one with Gilly. I went to one with Gilly. And one of the rituals was absolutely amazing. The other two was But that one, Samael and Lilith, oh my God. That's another one that if you experience that, you will carry it with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And
so
actually seeing like people who really like understand the energies and pulling them through, like, yeah, it's.
And there was only 2 words said.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole ritual.
I am. And even now, there goes everything.
See, I love the idea of that. Like writing rituals like that, but I don't have the experience of, like, I've got experience being in many rituals, but they're all really heavily detailed words and stuff. And yeah, I'd love to experience something that's completely different, that throws it on its head. And I don't have the brain to think of that myself without having first seen something or experienced something like that. I get too stuck in my head. So I'd love to.
It was amazing.
Mm.
And that's it. You also want to go to something and not have to stress about running it. So
that's right.
You can enjoy the experience of participating in that as well.
Yeah.
So there's been, and that's what I tell everybody. They said, how do you know? And I said, because I've done and I've seen and I've experienced things that I cannot question.
Yeah.
And that confirm what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And especially energy.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing that energy work,
it's amazing.
People who are combined.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I keep telling people, that because there seems to be such a large amount of people just sticking to solitary work because it's too hard to find a group, as in they don't want to deal with people and be tolerant of other people's issues and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if you're on this path, I think you're doing a disservice to not be in a group at some point of people that are, and I'm not talking necessarily public groups where no one knows anything about energy that they're working
Yeah.
with, but find a group of people that have worked together for a long time, know what they're doing with energy, and can show you what it can be if you're in a group, because I think you're doing a disservice to yourself if you stick as solitary because, oh, I don't want to tolerate other people, or I don't want to be told what to do, or that is a really poor excuse because you are missing out on so much. Like there's just
And I think that's what's missing is the public, the open, proper rituals. Now, COVID killed all of those.
yeah.
And I just don't know whether they're ever going to come back because it's become so difficult now to hire a venue.
Yeah.
And we're all so bloody old that if we can't take our CPAP machines, we can't go. You know, I used to, back in the day, we used to get allocated to the snorers cabin.
Yeah.
So they're snorers, put them all together, and, you know, it'd be lucky if it didn't fall down by the end of the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
even public rituals are difficult. Like just even like here in South A, I've been looking for a little while to find a public place
Yeah.
to do ritual. And my only requirement is that there is a toilet nearby and transport.
Yeah.
Now, South A has terrible transport. I don't care who you think you are in South Australia, you have terrible fucking transport here. But you can't find a place that got a toilet within walking distance if you want to keep it even slightly accessible for people. And I know myself, I've got stomach issues. So sometimes because I don't have a gallbladder, sometimes it decides that no, it's not happy. I need the toilet.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I can find that is not next to people
Yeah.
that has a toilet and has transport. It's impossible. And we've made it impossible to hire parks out because, well, you know, you need a permit to do this. You need to tell the police you're going to be there. You need to do this and that. People will come and ask you what you're doing. They'll come and stare, and there's no privacy for us to do public rituals. Not even privacy, but you know what I mean? Like there's not even the space to do it. And that's a shame.
I think we need to try and encourage weekends because then you build that community while you're there, and then you share energy together. And I think that's the best chance that people have of experiencing that energy with other people.
Not at the cost of living, though.
That's right. With the full moons, they're all strangers. We don't get much time to build energy to share. I mean, I can take them all on a journey, and most of them end up going, and they come back going, "Oh, that was really," you know. But those gatherings, those rituals were the bomb, and hopefully we can bring them back. But you know.
I'm not sure the cost of places is cheap enough anymore. You used to be able to find places that, you know, you could rent out for peanuts essentially, but these days,
3-day event minimum's $50,000 to $80,000 now.
You know, and to spend $1,000 on a weekend, for like, you know, if me and my partner want to go, it's at least $1,000 for 2 tickets and transport, and you know, if you want to take anything, you know, food, alcohol, whatever, it's not really viable for a lot of people anymore.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I think only those established things like AWC will continue.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of do hope that we end up seeing the return of the witchy bookshop or the witchy.
Well, we've got one in Sydney, the Cauldron's.
Yeah, the Cauldron's doing well.
Doing very well.
And I mean, now that they've got spaces for classes and things like that, I think, because like thinking back to my journey, that's how I started on the path. Like, I think, you know, doing a tarot course, doing a meditation course.
With the meditation room and that's where I had my shop, stopping for a spell.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a safe way as well to build that group opportunities for group practice and community. Like,
it's expensive though.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no guarantee it'll work, and retail is fickle, and you know, business is horrible to run, and you know,
but then it's on us to actually support those businesses who are doing it.
That's right.
Correct. Yeah. But you know, pagans in general are pretty apathetic kind of people, and you know, it's not always the way it goes. It's a fickle thing. It's a fickle industry.
We're apathetic until we are going to lose something.
That's right.
And then we'll rally.
Then we all get upset.
So I guess. Sorry, go.
No, you're gonna finish off with the last question that we normally ask.
Yeah, let's do our last question. So we're going to ask everyone this one because we think it's a great question. If you could go back now with all the knowledge and experience you've got and tell your younger self who is just starting out on the path, anything, advice, something, what would it be?
God, this is going to come back and bite me.
We can edit it out.
No. I should have talked to Julie and Matthew more. Because I did talk to them back then, and I wasn't sure what I wanted. And as I said, they when they released, they first had their orange paper cover A4.
Yeah.
That would have been a very different path.
Well, we might wrap the episode
All right.
here, but Dave, thank you very much for coming. Is there anything that you want to talk about or plug or let us know about where we can find you?
Look, something I've got. That's Medusa with the head.
Love it.
Perseus. And it's the exact copy of the model in Europe.
Fantastic.
It cost me $180 US for the file. And I'm only meant to make one, but I'm going to make a lot more. So stuff like that. I'm doing lots of the gods. They'll be everywhere soon. So Cauldron sell them.
Cauldron? Okay. And can we order them from Garfie's Games or
Yes.
on eBay?
No, just come direct. eBay costs you money.
Direct.
Just come direct.
All right. There'll be links down below in the description.
It's all good. Yeah, we can. I don't know if I can separate them out yet. I need to make a new category. Gods.
Cool. Send me the link anyway, and I'll pop it in the description for people to find you.
I've got CanCon next weekend, so I'm a little bit mad getting ready for that. So it's the biggest gaming convention in the country.
Wow.
15, 20,000 people.
Nice.
And I've got a stall. So, which I didn't think I was going to get. So I'm busy making stuff.
For that.
As quick as I'm making it, I'm selling it. And I have to remake it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.